Hey folks, and welcome to They Might Be Racing. Today we're going to install an aftermarket stereo in a 2002 Ford Explorer. The process here is basically the same for all cars, so yes, it's specific to an Explorer, but basically you can use this information. So, first of all, you need a new stereo. Got this one right here. Secondly, depending on the car that it's going into and what it's replacing, you may need a dash adapter. So the factory stereo in the Ford Explorer is a custom size, so we have to have this adapter to put in the dash to fill up the space, and what we end up getting is a little goofy pocket in addition to that. So the other thing we have to have is we have to have an adapter. I have a whole separate video on this, so watch that and you can learn how to do this correctly. In addition to that, you may have speakers and other things, but today we're just covering putting the stereo into the dash of the car. So, first things first, I like to get the stuff on the workbench, read the instructions, make sure I've got all the right bits, I've got everything I need, and I'm ready to go. Also, it's great for test fitting things. So, for example, what we need to do is we need to set this. Now, this bracket sits around the stereo when it's in the car, and it holds it in place. So, in order to mount this to here, I'm going to slide it in and orient it correctly, and there are a series of little tabs on here. These tabs, what you do is you bend them up to hold it in place. And the metal on these things can be extraordinarily sharp, so be very careful with your fingers when you do this. I prefer, if at all possible, to get a little pair of pliers in there to do the bending, because you're much less likely to do any damage to yourself. And if you have to, you start it a little bit with a small screwdriver and get the pliers in there. And you don't have to necessarily go crazy doing this. Basically what you want to do is turn up enough of these just so this stays nice and snug. It'll keep your stereo from vibrating around too much within the dashboard, within its holder. So that's pretty snug, and we are just going to double check the fit. You don't want to slide it all the way in because it will lock the stereo in place. So, yep, that looks pretty good, as it should, as these are, made to go together. The other thing I like to do while I've got it up here on the bench is go ahead and hook the harness for the stereo on the back of the unit, so we're not farting around doing that when we're in the vehicle. Now you'll see that there are a number of other connectors on here. This depends on what sort of options you want to do. These are specialty outs and ins for this particular stereo. You got a plug right here for the antenna, as well as a couple other specialty plugs. And one thing I hadn't done, is, most modern stereos are, have the faceplate that comes off. I don't like that, but that's the way they come. And they also have a trim ring, so make sure to remove the trim ring and set it aside somewhere safe. What I like to do is put it with the stereo face. That way you're much less likely to lose it. So at this stage of the game, we have our mounting point pretty well set. Our stereo's set. We've got the faceplate, we've got everything else. So now it's time to move out to the car and get it disassembled so that we can assemble the new stuff. Okay, now keep in mind that with all things electrical, the first thing you do when you go out to your car is you disconnect the negative battery cable. That way you're not going to trigger anything like your safety systems or anything like that. Now, this faceplate should just pop off. It's kind of tricky to get fingers underneath there, so try to very carefully get a screwdriver in. It seems to want to fight with me today. again, this is one of those situations where if I were not showing you how to do this, I'd probably have this off in 30 seconds. But because I'm on camera, car likes to embarrass me. Got a different screwdriver, be right back. So I just took a thinner screwdriver because you gotta get back in behind it and then sort of press against, pop that out. Now, let's see, how much room do I have to give? How much give do I have here? Not a heck of a lot. So, this is held in place by two small nuts there. We'll go ahead and get a wrench and remove it. Alright, I got a little 7mm socket wrench here. These two out. One. And there is the other. Now, just kind of a duh thing, but I might as well mention it now. Don't forget to make sure that you don't have any CDs or anything in your old player when you remove it. Pull that out. And there will be some connectors on the back that need to be undone. So, antenna, and boy, I tell you, they don't have you only just enough. Alright, so now we got the old stereo out. You'll see we got two connectors here, and that should match up with a connector we've got off of our harness. Now, the mounting instructions specified that this goes in like that, and that way it will mount up in the correct Explorer fashion. Before we do that, we're going to insert the stereo and hook it up. Now as you slide that in, you should hear it kind of snap into place. We're going to go ahead and connect up our harnesses. You'll see that this guy snaps right into place. There we go. And the other thing that we want to connect is our antenna. That should go. Just double check where the antenna connection is. It's right there. Go ahead. Yeah, criminally. Come on. Why don't you want to go in? Now, tuck all of your wires back. drop the unit into place. Take your bolts. Start tightening it up. Sometimes there's funny little angles that just are annoying to get to. Now, you want to check for fit before you tighten everything up. So you can see that the driver's side is okay, but the passenger side needs to come up a little bit. There we go. Now, what I like to do at this stage of the game is, before I put everything back together, is test out the unit and make sure everything works. So, I'm going to get out of the car, I'm going to reconnect the battery temporarily, and we will test out the unit. So we got the faceplate on. I've hooked up the iPod. This is a iPod-based player. To be perfectly honest, I don't know how to use this thing. How do we close it? There we go. Put that up. There we go. Let's see if we can get the radio to work. Oh. Huh. Oh. We have radio. Alright, so this stage of the game we've got it reconnected, so go ahead and see if we can just sort of pop that back into place around it. Now there's a faceplate, so hopefully it will just... Oh. Huh! That's cool. How do I turn it off? Oh well, at any rate, so we've got it in, we've got it set up. Everything works. Remaining things that we have to do. I've only put the negative battery terminal on, so we've got to tighten that down, clean up our tools, and basically we're done. We've installed an aftermarket stereo in a vehicle.